Hi, folks. I'm here for another episode of Archetype Awakenings, and I'm feeling so juiced up today because I've got a beautiful friend of mine, Natasha, and also she is a really powerful hypnotherapist. And we're just going to see where the conversation goes. So, yeah, welcome. How are you doing, Tash?
So much for having me. I'm so excited for what we're going to be speaking about today, though I don't know what it is, but it's going to be exciting. I know.
Those are the best conversations because some threads starts unraveling and then we just go with that. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to for you to just share a little bit about the work you do because obviously I remember how I love like sharing how I connected with people because I feel like I don't know. I feel like we connected through some Facebook group, and then I remember you saying, "Oh my God, I wanted to connect with an astrologer and get them on my podcast," and then it just kind of all unraveled from there. So,
Synchronistic connection between us two because I'd heard about you through somebody else ages, like months and months and months before. And then yes, we were in the same Facebook group. It was the one that I had set up, I think. It was like our little spiritual community. And then I was like, and yeah, so it was all very like synchronistic, which they're the best ways to meet people, I think. Magic.
yeah, yeah, I remember that now, and I was just like, "Oh, she's full of it," and like I just loved your energy. It was like really warm, and I was like, "I need her in my life." Um, so yeah, just I'd love to for you to share to the people like listening as well, because obviously you have this background with hypnotherapy, and I think our worlds align because we both work with the unconscious in different ways. So I'd love to hear a bit more about like how do you explain what is hypnotherapy for anyone kind of listening, and what is that work that you love doing?
Gosh. So effectively what hypnotherapy is using hypnosis for therapy. So it's not like this, obviously there's a lot of like myths and kind of like beliefs around hypnosis because of the stage hypnotist. What I do in my sessions is not that at all. It's very different. But yeah, effectively what we're doing, like you said, is I'm using hypnosis to get access to people's unconscious or subconscious minds because we have everything stored. I like to think of the subconscious. Wow, it's such a big thing, the subconscious. I think there's a lot of like branches to it, but one of the things I like to think of the subconscious as is this like recorder that's constantly recording throughout our whole lives. And even if we don't actually have conscious memories of the things that have happened to us in our lives, our subconscious holds everything. And so this is the way that I use hypnosis to get access, one, to those kind of unconscious memories in people's minds, but then also the subconscious stores all our habits and behaviors, like all these autopilot subconscious behaviors that we aren't actually in conscious control of. Our subconscious is in complete control of them. And so by using hypnosis, I can access the operating system, so to speak, and literally reprogram that operating system with programs of my client's choice. Because unfortunately, what happens is we get programmed between the ages of 0 to 7 when we're in a constant state of hypnosis with things that happen to us, the parents around us, our caregivers, people in authority, everything. We're like little sponges. And so we're programmed at that age, and it's totally out of our control. Some things are good, some things are not so ideal. And that's why I love using hypnosis and hypnotherapy, because it's just empowering the person again. It's putting you back in control, and you get to decide what you do want to believe and what you don't want to believe, and how you want to act and how you want to think. And it's not always easy to do that. It is a journey, but using hypnosis is like a superpower, because you can try and change things consciously, but it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be really, really difficult, so much effort. And sometimes, more often than not, you will end up slipping back. Whereas when you change it on the subconscious level, you now have a new program running. So you don't slip back, it just becomes your new unconscious behavior. Not
Hmm.
the explanation, but like there's so much to it. But that's effectively how I use it in the work that I do.
I love that interpretation because, like you say, it's that operating system that's just on autopilot, which I think we always think we're so conscious of our thoughts, but we're not, because like it's just like you say, an operating system. And like, even as an example, I've just been even more aware of like when my, because I don't know how you would use it, but I would say like so there's obviously the unconscious as well, is I never know. You'll probably be able to define this. The unconscious and the subconscious is slightly different, but I see the unconscious is kind of my ego. It's like the default I'm on. And I could even see myself going into this spiral yesterday. I was like, oh my God, this coming week is like, there's loads of stuff going on. I'm like doing stuff in this part-time job, and then I'm starting this 6-week journey and blah, like all the things. I could just watch my brain going into like overwhelm. And I really caught that. And I was like, no, because that's the way my ego is trying to kind of control and say, oh, it's not safe because you're doing all these things. Like, do you have the capacity for that? Like, you're not ready, you're not prepared, all these things. And I just think it's so fascinating when you get more aware of that part of you that's just literally trying to sabotage your actions and what you're doing in life. And I really saw it of this spiral, and I was like, no, I'm not going into that. But the first, like you say, it's hard. It's it's almost the first step is catching that default, like that process, isn't it? Like, oh, I see you. And going, I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to create chaos. Yeah, I can feel chaos and overwhelm about it, but I'm not going to give that the power. And what else am I going to give the power to? So,
Yeah, exactly. I always say that awareness is always the first step. And that's and effective. I mean, that's amazing that you can do that. And that is what this is. Like, you are now kind of you've brought the unconscious patterns because of the work that you've been doing and because you've been observing yourself. And now you can separate yourself from them. You can, because I think that's really the key, isn't it? It's kind of the more you do the subconscious work, the more you see and you start realizing about your own kind of consciousness, and this is kind of gets a little bit like, esoteric, but you realize that you are just the awareness behind observing all these thoughts and behaviors. And as soon as you can catch that and get that, and I do think it takes time and it takes practice, but the more that you can do that, the more you get to be in control. Like you said, you become aware and you can almost see, oh, this is what I'm doing, but you're detached from it. So it puts you back in the driver's seat and you're like, right, I can see I'm doing that. I'm choosing to do something different. And I think it's really interesting because, like what you said, it's your ego, and it's like unfamiliar and it's self-sabotage, and it is all self-sabotage. But I think that's something that's really, really important for everyone to remember as well, and I think this does actually help when you're doing this kind of work, is yes, your ego is sabotaging you, but it's only doing it because it's trying to protect you. It's just keeping safe. And I think that this is a really, really important understanding, because in, like, so for instance, in your situation, and I'm sure you did this, but you can, when you understand that your ego or your subconscious, because I do think it's all kind of, like you said, unconscious, subconscious, ego, I don't think there's any definite kind of description. Everyone has their own interpretation, but at the end of the day, everything's linked. We're all this kind of like holistic body, mind, soul being. But I think that when you can realize that your subconscious, your ego is trying to protect you from things that it's learned in the past, and effectively it just doesn't feel safe, because like you said, the unfamiliar is complete unsafety to your ego, and so it's going to pull you back. Then you can say, in whatever way works for you, but we're safe, don't worry, I don't need protection, thank you, I see you, but no, like, we're safe. And as soon as you then, because we try and do a lot in our mind, don't we, And especially me, I work with the mind predominantly, but actually I don't, because very quickly when I started this work, I saw that we are mind, body, and soul, and you cannot just work with one. You have to take into account all of them. So something that I really like to work with my clients as well is nervous system regulation, because actually when we focus on the body, we can then affect our thoughts, because we're always trying to change our thoughts. But as you know, that's really, really hard. It's hard to think yourself out of anxiety or think yourself out of overwhelm. It begins in your body. So if you can calm your body down and tell your body it's safe, the prefrontal cortex comes back online, because you're not in fight or flight anymore, and then it can make rational, logical decisions and go, oh, do you know what? I actually can handle, this 6-week journey, and I can do this. I'm perfectly capable. Okay, we got this. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because it's true that they're not like it's not a strict rule of putting that ego in. And I love that that's a really good reminder as well for me and for everyone that it's true. There is just a part of us wanting it doesn't feel safe, and it hasn't been safe in the past. And that links into, I think, as well, like you said, bringing it into the body. That is something that and people that follow me know that it's I never say I'm a like somatic practitioner, but also it's bringing that awareness of that emotion into the body. It's like, oh, that anxiety, where do I feel it? And for example, I had, this morning I was like, I feel like I just need to go sit in nature. So I did like my morning meditation in the forest, which was just, I just needed that. And I could feel this anxiety. And instead of trying to go, I need to fix that, I need to get rid of that, I was like, no, I'm going to sit with this. Like, where is it in my body? Meet it with compassion, because that's when the energy shifts. And I think we're so in this world of like a lot of that spiritual work of think positive. We talked about this a lot, think positive, again, all in the mind. And you're literally being disembodied and kind of like in that way, you're fragmenting parts of yourself because you're going, oh, I feel anxious. I've got to get rid of that. I feel sad. I've got to get rid of that. It's like, no, if you can be with all these parts, which are the light and dark, then you're actually, your consciousness is more free and more expansive. And actually, you are just more authentic and true to yourself in embracing it all, right? Which I found is such an important piece of that journey, and that radical self-acceptance. Um,
I love that, because
okay.
we all run away from these heavy emotions, don't we? Like all the quote unquote negative emotions. We're also scared to feel them. That's another part of the work that I do in the hypnosis. When we do regression and go back to these childhood events, I'm actually getting my clients to feel, and we turn up the emotions that they felt. And they're obviously, with the things we go back to, they're these negative emotions, and we sit with them and we get them to feel them, because what they've done is the loop didn't finish when they were kids. So they've held on to, let's just say it's fear, they've held on to this energy of fear in their chest, and that's being triggered throughout their whole lives, and it's getting stored. And I'm sure everybody listening here has heard of this dis-ease. That's what it is. It gets stored. These emotions, get stored, compacted, and then eventually can cause illness and disease. So we need to feel them. We need to have them released. And again, like from the work that I did with you as well, there's wisdom in those emotions, isn't there? There's information. The same as I can get that with my clients, and I experienced that with you. We run away from these emotions, but they're teachers, aren't they? And that's, but it's hard. It's scary, it's tough, but when you do it, you realize, oh, actually, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is because it's uncomfortable. And you're saying about feeling your feelings is so important. That is so much of the work I do now as well. Because, like if I just talk, the modality I mostly use is astrology, but actually it doesn't matter what modalities we use. It's about accessing that consciousness and dropping it into the body and going, okay, I'm making space to feel this anxiety, this grief, this fear I've never felt. And in that, it dissolves and it doesn't have power over you, right? Which is a practice. And I really think that so many of us humans just want like safety. we want safety. We've been taught like do the things that are predictable. So when you're doing something new, whether you're creating a new offering or whatever you're doing in the world, like your ego is gonna freak out. 'Cause it's like you said, I'm not safe. Like, how can I almost derail this and manifest some, even illness? I've done that before. I can see it where I start almost expanding and then I get ill, like I get a cold or something. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Right? So I'm really curious to know from your practice, like, because I know you know the science stuff and I'm not so good at that. But I'm curious to know because I know obviously with trauma and things we experience when we're younger, I think there's something because I've heard this with my dad, for example. He grew up in a very volatile environment. His dad was an alcoholic and he was constantly working on eggshells. And I always find it so interesting because there's parts of his childhood that he can't remember. It's blurry. And so it's almost like a coping strategy that we don't remember the trauma so we can actually live. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to live if that trauma wasn't kind of in our awareness. So I'm curious to know the science behind that. Is there like a part of our brain that shuts down with trauma, or like what is going on there?
A really, really common thing to happen. I see a lot of people, that's one of the things that they worry about when they're going to come and work with me, because obviously, straight off the bat, I'm saying we're going to go back and we're going to revisit childhood memories, we're going to do this and that. And their first question is, yeah, but I don't have any childhood memories, or what if I can't access them? I don't really remember much of my childhood. And I'm like, yep, totally normal. We can still access it because, like I said, your subconscious is always recording. But to answer your question in terms of the science, yeah, so what happens, it's coming back to your nervous system again, what we spoke about earlier. So dad would have lived in a chronic state of kind of trauma, of dysregulated nervous system. It was chronic, it was the whole of childhood. And so what happens is effectively, again, and this is what happens in any time that we're feeling dysregulated, our body, think of us still as like the cavemen back, like in evolution, think about what we had to do. So really what we had to do was survive in a jungle or in the forest. We had to make sure we could run away from things that were going to kill us, whether that was an animal, another tribe, whatever. So our nervous system is still reacting now in this present day when there are no tribes, people most of the time trying to kill us, and no saber-toothed tigers coming after us, but now mortgage payments, unsettled homes, parents who are having arguments when you're a child. These are all our new saber-toothed tigers. So your dad's nervous system was in a chronic state of fight or flight at all times because he was sensing danger from his dad. So when your body is in that state of fight or flight, everything gets rerouted to make sure that you are going to be able to survive. So this is where we feel like, when you have anxiety, you can sometimes become really aware of your like tingly hands or feet, obviously have a faster heartbeat, all the things that we all know kind of link with and that feeling of anxiety or fear or danger. The body starts sending blood to your extremities so that you can run away from this saber-toothed tiger. Your heart starts beating faster. You get flooded with adrenaline and cortisol because it wants you to be able to run away and save yourself. The problem is your dad was never able to run away. People who have, lived in childhood that are traumatic, and that doesn't have to be big traumas, like you said, it's this long-term chronic kind of trauma where he's constantly feeling like he's in danger. His body has to make sure that he can survive. So his prefrontal cortex, this front part of his brain, which is responsible for logical thought, and then also the part of the brain that stores the memories, that's not needed when you need to run away from saber-toothed tiger. So that gets shut down so that it can send its resources to, running away to all the adrenaline. And that's why we don't have any conscious memories stored away, because it just wasn't necessary at the time for survival. But they are still there and you can access them too. And there is healing. Obviously, that's a huge part of work that I do, that I am helping people access those memories that they have tucked away because again, like you said, that's on the, what I've just explained is on the like kind of physiological level, but yes, on the mental level, you're chucking those memories away because they're painful and you don't want to relive them, and you're protecting yourself from them, but they are still there, and the emotions and the fear is still in your body. And this is where we have to look at them and sit with the uncomfortable emotions. And that's why it's helpful to access these memories, because yes, it feels like, why would you do that? Why would you go back and pull up all the trauma? But it is necessary for understanding, for releasing, and for moving on, and reminding yourself that you are safe now, for completing that loop that never got finished when you were a child.
It is such important work, isn't it? And not everyone's open to that, and that's okay, because it does take courage to do that work, doesn't it? And yeah, I'm curious to know, like on your journey, were there, when you first were getting into hypnotherapy, were there kind of memories that you, really significant memories that you were like, oh, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I always had a super, I think my problem has always been that I remembered everything. I was so aware. Now, like looking back, I was definitely in a chronic state of, kind of that fight or flight as well. Um, my mum and dad's relationship was very fractious, and I was very aware of it. And that's where a lot of my healing work had to kind of come around. But I had so many memories. My sister, my younger sister, I never had none. And it's really interesting to see how, and we are very, very different people. We've come out of our childhoods in very different ways. And it is really interesting to look at the differences. So I haven't had any memories kind of access that I haven't been aware of. Apart from, I did go back in one regression, I did go back to being in my mum's tummy as pregnant, so being in the womb. And I have that a lot with my clients. A lot of people go back to the womb, which is really interesting. And it's always about how the mum was feeling, like you'll be very aware of how your mum was feeling at the time. And of course, you're part of her, aren't you? Connected. There's so much that we pick up in the womb, and people don't even think about that. You don't, do you? I mean, until I did my regressions for other people, I didn't even think about it. And then when I had it on my own, I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. I've also worked with a twin, and one of her regressions went back, and it was about her and her twin and the relationship that she had there. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Sorry, I digress a little bit there because it is really fascinating. But yes, however, so though I didn't have any memories, unconscious memories come up, what was really interesting is that there were particular memories that would come up that I needed to work on, which I'd always thought about, but never thought that anything of them. They pop in, I'm like, and you carry on. But actually, it was those random memories that seemed kind of, nothing about them, that held my, like, the biggest traumas and the biggest, like, effects on me, which I found really interesting. Because so many times I had that with my clients as well. I'll always ask them, is that a conscious memory? Are you aware of that memory? And the ones that say yes, I was, it's been so interesting because they said, but I've always laughed at that. That we always spoke about that memory as a joke. But actually, when we were doing the work, it was highly traumatic, and there was so much like fear or sadness or all the emotions that come up. And yet they spent their whole lives and their families joking about this memory.
Wow. That's so powerful. And it is just, and I just find it so interesting how you said you and your sister were very different, of how you remembered everything and she remembered nothing. And I wonder if, like, in that, because I think some of the things I blocked out from childhood, generally I do remember things, but I know I can be quite hyper vigilant with stuff, and I know that's a protective mechanism. And often they say, that, again, if you like the label or not, take it or leave it, but being an empath, being sensitive, is because you literally were trying to survive and you were trying to read the environment. And that's why you were so sensitive to energy and emotions, because you're always checking, oh, is it safe? Is it safe? And again, it's not to kind of, it's, you've got to forgive those caretakers or whatever their situation is, right? It's about, like you said, retraining your nervous system. And I don't remember, but I'm sure I remember going back into the womb. I don't know if it was through a hypnotherapy journey. I can't remember, see. But sometimes my brain is funny like that. I can't even remember recent things. I can remember things way back and it's really detailed. Like the other week I met somebody and I'd worked with them like ages ago. This is really random, right? My brain remembered. So I remember last time I saw you, your cat, you were telling me your cat at first had a funnel on its head because it had some like a sore paw to stop it scratching. And then you showed me this picture, you put a watermelon on it on its head. You like a soft thing so it was comfortable. And he was like, oh, is that, oh yeah, how do you remember that? It's so random.
You like cats, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
That's a piece of information for me. I'll keep hold of that. Truly, because it can't remember everything, and
No.
that's like a whole nother conversation. For this is why it's so important to do kind of mindset work around your what you find is important, because your brain will hunt it out for you. And unfortunately, a lot of the things we place importance on are things that we're scared of or we don't want to happen. And so then your subconscious mind is going to think, well, that's important for her. Give her all this. And this is part of the work that I do as well. I'm like, right, we need to reprioritize your subconscious mind's importance of things so that, you know, like abundance is important, you know, like ways to earn money, love, all of the things. And then that becomes what it brings to you. And it seems really simple and like really, but it truly, yeah, it's a perfect example.
It's so random, isn't it? But it's because because I love cats and I was interested and I could, it's funny how the brain remembers certain details and then forgets anything else. And it's always like that. I always remember Tony Robbins talks about RAS, like I
Particular
can't remember what does it stand for?
that activating system.
Right, that's it. Noticing, like you're saying, noticing or the abundance, or I'm going to focus on whatever potential clients. And I guess I'd be so curious because I know there's a lot of talk in this world we're in about like abundance and, just think yourself into abundance. And I've definitely done that. I hold my hands up high, like just think positive thoughts. And I'm a big fan of EFT and I've done EFT for years and I love it. And also there is definitely a body level we have to bring that down to, like feeling feeling the safety within our body first to be able to hold the finances and the abundance and more clients, in our energy field. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on kind of like how you can create more abundance in your life from like not just a mind level, but bringing it to the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, such a good question. Ooh. So you're right. It is about the body primarily. I think because the body will stop us. We're all so keen to do the mindset work. It's such a buzz topic now, isn't it? And so we kind of go full on that. And again, we'll come back to what we said before, where mind, body, and soul. It has to be all of it. And you can think abundant thoughts and you can say the affirmations and you can do all the things, but if your body doesn't feel safe to hold abundance, it's not going to happen, because it's going to come to you, yeah, sure, but then your body's going to freak out and go, oh my god, no, I'm not used to this. Sabotage it. And you'll do, the subconscious mind is a genius at sabotaging you and stopping things from happening. And honestly, because with the past life regression stuff that I do, the QHHT session, I get to speak to lots of higher selves and I get to speak to this kind of subconscious part of you. And it's brilliant how it says, yeah, it did that, the body did that because of this or because of that. But anyway, so I think what's really important, and again, this is where it does link back to beliefs as well, because you can't have one without the other, but you have to realize what your beliefs are so that you can identify that and then go back to the body and make yourself feel calm, because so many of us are programmed to believe that life is a struggle. Life has to be hard. And if you have that belief, anything outside of that is going to get rejected. because it doesn't fit in with your belief system. And that's a real problem. It's a huge problem. And it's really hard because, you know, how many times did good things happen to you in whatever context of your life, like your relationships get better, or you bring more money in, or you bring more clients in, and then somehow something goes wrong and it gets you back to where you were before. And it's because your belief system and your body doesn't believe that it's safe to be happy, safe to be. Again, a lot of us are addicted to stress. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's just not familiar for us for things to be peaceful. So many of us reject peace. We're looking constantly for this stress because we believe that that's what life has to be like. And so again, really then what we have to do is we have to sit with our bodies and say, when we are feeling good, because this is the problem. We do the work when things get hard, don't we? But when everything's going well, it's like, everything's fine. It's actually really important that when things are going well, you sit back with your body and you say, this is how it gets to be. It's safe to be comfortable. It's safe to be at peace. And then again, like you said at the beginning, notice when those things start coming in, the little self-sabotaging things that are trying to bring you back to the chaos, because that's your familiar state. And then you get to say again, go hard on it. No, it's safe to feel peace. And this all sounds so simple because it is. That doesn't mean it's easy to do. I really like around this conversation, 11, around this conversation, I love the book. I don't know whether you've read it, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Yes, I read it years ago, but I remember. Yeah, brilliant.
Such a great book. I mean, he coined the term the upper limit problem. Right? I think it was from him that all this has come, but this is effectively what it's saying. We all have a thermostat for different things. We have a thermostat for love, we have a thermostat for money, we have a thermostat for success, blah, 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 all of it. And we are set at this particular thermostat, depending on what's happened to us in childhood, what our beliefs are, blah, blah, blah. We have these thermostats. And so when we try and grow and expand and do things differently, our thermostat gets pushed above our set level. And then your subconscious mind goes, no, you've come out of our familiar zone, pull you back down, and it will do anything. So that's exactly what we were just talking about there. That is effectively what's happening. And so our job then is to push that set point up and up. And we can only do that with awareness, and we're pushing ourselves into the unfamiliar to get uncomfortable. And then when we get uncomfortable, that's when you hammer in hard on the body, like you said, and say, right, my body is feeling unsafe. I'm going to just calm the body down. It's so easy. When you focus on the body, everything becomes easier really to do, but we just don't think of it because we haven't been taught it. We're so up here, aren't we? But yeah, if anyone's interested in that kind of concept, I can't recommend that book enough.
Yeah, that's a brilliant book. Yeah, thanks for that reminder. And it's like what you're saying is I think of it as like your thermostat. Also, you can think of it as like an energetic capacity, so you make more money and your body freaks out, and then maybe it's actually safe to receive this. And then you go again, and slightly, my friend talks about this with money, and you only have a capacity for so much money because say you're used to only having that much in the bank, and then you pass that threshold, your body freaks out. So it's training it to be in safety. And it's funny because our brain just loves to complicate things. And I've literally been meditating for I don't know, it must be over 10 years now. And I've gone through all the guided meditations, all the things. And actually, what I find most helpful, which is such a simple practice I recommend to anyone right now, is I literally sit with myself, normally like 15 minutes, silent meditation. I literally just sit. And again, this is probably uncomfortable when you first start doing it, and then you get used to it. Just sitting with yourself, literally breathing with no kind of nothing, just present with your body, and you really just kind of with it tuning into like how you're feeling, but you're not trying to resolve or fix anything. You're just being with it, like I did with this anxiety today. It's like, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety. I'm just going to be with it and just, have compassion. Okay, I'm creating space to feel this anxiety, because then you're building deeper trust with your body that actually, okay, we're feeling anxiety. Okay, I'm not going to panic and try and get rid of it. I'm going to sit with it. And actually, that sounds counterintuitive, but I believe that's a part of how you cultivate safety, and how you're able to handle more things, even more clients. Like I used to think the old me would be like, oh, I can only handle, one reading in a day or something like that. And now I really notice that my capacity has increased. Like, this week I've got all these things on. The old me would just be like drained on the floor. So, but it's been a process to be able to get to that point of like expanding your capacity to receive more and hold more, even clients as well as money. Um, but another thing I want to mention off the back of that book, when you said the other book that I really think is brilliant is The Body Keeps the Score. Do you know that one? Right. It's such a powerful one of it's quite complex, but this idea, these veterans were, this man, the psychologist would go and see these veterans and they would, like you said earlier, they were addicted to their trauma and they were all bonding over these traumatic events that they experienced in the war. I just find that so fascinating. So yeah, it's that awareness of it, isn't it? And like you said, moving forwards with those practices and not complicating things.
It is not, don't, it doesn't have to be difficult. And that's another belief, a core belief that I see, because obviously I'm dealing with people's limiting beliefs on a daily basis. And when you do that, you see we're all the same. Like things manifest in our lives in different ways, sure, yeah, but the core beliefs that we have and the things that we're working on are all the same. And that is another, that is another one. And if we like had a belief that things get to be easy, again, it comes back to this struggle. It still comes back to that struggle. Life is a struggle, right? We make it so hard for ourselves, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I do really think, and it feels like this is a bit of a theme of this conversation, isn't it? It's like come back to the body. Always the body, because that's the simplest way. When I help the clients that I work with that are obviously dealing with a lot of anxiety, the first thing I do before we do anything else is I teach them about the nervous system and what anxiety actually is. Because we're so, again, we love labels, don't we? We love labeling ourselves with things. And it's like, you don't have anxiety, you're feeling anxious. And it's a totally normal bodily response. But we just let it kind of go crazy, don't we? But when you actually just realize that this is why your body is feeling this kind of anxiety, that the flight or fight response we talked earlier about, and you then stop trying to mess with your thoughts and just go back into your body, you can calm yourself down within a minute. And
Yeah.
everything comes back online. And it's from that place then that you can start having, like I said, the rational thoughts, and you can start thinking logically and think, kind of go from there. But the most important thing is to focus on your body. And one thing, just going kind of off on a little bit of a, more of an unseen tangent here, but you have to remember, not only are you holding in your body the emotions from this lifetime, but from the work I've done, you're also holding it from past lifetimes.
Mm.
You're holding it from your ancestors because it's in your DNA. Trauma is in your DNA. And I just think this is something that I'm really starting to work and focus more on. I'm being more drawn to it, is the past life and the ancestral healing. Because it's not something at all that's in our conscious minds. You're not thinking when you're scared about holding or receiving more money. You're thinking it's all about you in this lifetime, but actually you could have had a past lifetime where you had loads of money and you lost it and you became destitute and eventually died somehow because times were harder back, in the past. You could have also come from a long lineage of ancestors who never got past a certain point of money. They've never held it. It's always been a struggle, and that is in your DNA, and you are being affected by it. So I truly think now, like, we are the generational, like, cycle breakers. And that's what I'm really feeling quite pulled and passionate to work on now, is helping people break these ancestral generational cycles from doing this unseen unconscious work, and things that people aren't actually considering as a factor that's playing in why they can't earn more money or why they can't bring in more clients.
I love that you shared that because yeah, definitely it's funny. I'm being drawn more and more to ancestral work, and I've done some ancestral healing and things like that. And also, thinking about the birth chart, there's I talk about Chiron is the wound in us. And it's like we're all wounded healers in some way. We come into this lifetime with a wound from a past life that, maybe we've struggled, like you said, with the money thing or relationships. And, and I just, as an example, I always just think it's so interesting because my wound is actually in Cancer, and Cancer is a sign of like feeling secure, the home, belonging, and that's always the thing that I've struggled with. I've lived more so now I'm settled, but I've lived in so many different places. It was always like I was searching for my home. And I realized that it's not necessarily a physical place for me. Like home is a sense of feeling safe, but it's that safety that I've struggled to feel. And that's what I've had to really learn, and seems to be what I'm teaching others, because the wound is also the gift I feel from that ancestral medicine. And I can look back to my female lineage. I actually remember on my astrology training years ago that it was so fascinating. We pulled up all of our family charts from like paternal side, maternal side. I mean, I couldn't get birth times for all of them. But what I did get was so fascinating because there was this theme on the maternal side, my mum's side, of like this really watery, sensitive, like these women are really sensitive, and like the caretaker's really nurturing. But on the shadow side, they were the people pleasers. They were the ones that put everyone else first, just disowned their own needs and desires. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can see how I do that too. It's in the lineage. So no wonder it's the thing that I'm struggling with, is the thing that I have to overcome, right?
Doing it for everyone. Like, and I love thinking that, because sometimes when you, and I'm very similar to you as well, saying like, from obviously I haven't got to do the birth charts, but from what I know of my that we've got a lot of women in our family. My mum was one of three, and I, think looking back, I can see how they were all in that pattern as well. And I have been too, that's been my work. But now obviously, I've lost my mum and my auntie, who I'm both very, very close to, and I feel like they're like with me, like they're behind me now, and I'm like, I'm doing it for them. They're helping me. I've got help from them and from my ancestors, and I find that really, really powerful. I've done some kind of really powerful meditations with that, and it's like, it can seem really hard, like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to be the one to break these patterns? It's so difficult. And actually also to note that you're not just doing it for the people, but the generations behind you, but the generations in front of you as well. It's like, actually, like, be empowered. You were the one that was chosen to do this. You chose to do it. They chose you. Everyone's helping you. Like, come on, like, let's get this done. You've got so much help around you that we don't even realize, we can't even understand. But I just think if you can at least accept that that's the case, if you feel called to what we're saying, and you feel called to doing this kind of work, and you resonate with the ancestral generational cycle breakers, please at least be aware that they're all around you, and you can call on them, and they are here to help you, and they're like cheering you on. And yeah, like, just this is the time to do it. I think it's really
Love.
exciting.
I love that reminder. Thank you. And you're making me realize, because there's ancestors that are here to support us that we've never met, that we've never known. And I remember doing a really powerful meditation. I think it was this ancestral healing kind of course I was doing, not to practice it. Was doing it for me. And I kept going to this meditation. I kept seeing this Native American guy coming into this sacred circle. And he always comes, like he's literally and I also make sure I call on the healed, wise, and well ancestors. That's also important if you're doing this work, because not all of them are healed. Um, and he just appears, and I just know he's always there. And it's really interesting because your soul holds memories. And I remember years ago, I think I was about 11, we went out to Canada and we were on this boat going across to, I think it was like Vancouver Island. And there was this mat, like this Native American man on the boat, like literally sat next to us. And I just remember I just remember his presence, and I was like so fascinated by him. And he was talking to us, and it was more his energy, I remember. And I was like, wow, like he's just really interested. There's something about him. And he was like, oh, you can go back and tell your friends you've met a native, native Indian. And I was like, wow, and I'm just thinking now that that was the piece, the clue back then, but obviously it didn't make sense to me now. And now it's like there's this real native Indian man that's always there for me. And I never met him, but it's just beautiful because you can feel so supported by those ancestors, right?
I love that so much, and I feel very cool. I have like a native, like American man as well that comes around me, and I feel very connected, especially when I'm in nature. I feel very connected to that kind of. Always have done. Again, like I just remember watching Pocahontas as a Disney Pocahontas as a child,
Mhm.
and it was like I don't even know how to explain it, but the feeling I got from watching that film, like no one else really liked that film very much, but I just loved it, and I loved the feeling I got from it, and I couldn't understand it at that point. Now looking back, I realize I'm like, oh, it's a memory. It's like a little soul nudge, isn't it? I think just like that. And the more that I dove into the past life regression work and became aware of, we're so much more than just this person in this body in this life, I've been able to look back at my childhood now and think, oh my gosh, that's why that resonated with me. That's why I was so obsessed with that particular like topic or person or thing. It all makes such sense now when you look at it through the lens of it's like little soul memories from past lives. And I'd love for like people now to just, if there's one thing that I could say as well, is if there's been things that you've been growing up and you've had obsessions or you've had fears, or you just had things that don't really make sense, but you've just been kind of really drawn to, be open to that being some kind of memory or nudge about who or what you were in a past life, because you're being reminded of that for a reason. And the more you can be open and aware to that, I promise you, you'll start seeing things, you're putting the puzzle together, and it's really, really helpful. I've had so much like positive growth from understanding or at least acknowledging past lives, because a lot of the time you don't get tangible like this is this and this is because of this, and that it is a bit of a trust and a faith thing, but it's a real resonance. And so if it feels right to you, just let it be okay, like trust it. You don't have to have proof, and it can sound crazy, but trust it, because it will lead you to such wisdom, and it will lead you to real spiritual growth, I think.
Mm. I love that. Like you're saying, it's like follow, I would say it's just similar from what you're saying. It's always like follow those nudges, like follow that curiosity, because it leads you to just incredible places. And also one thing that came to me, you talking about obviously we're doing the healing. Like if you are literally, I always forget to mention this, but if you're in the generation, in my generation, that's from I think about I want to say about born from like 1987 to like late 90s. We're the generation that are Pluto and Scorpio that's here to do that taboo, deeper, like shine a light on the unconscious. We're really here to do that shadow work and to like, we're like the cycle breakers. And it's not an easy path to walk, but if you are that generation, you're here to wake the fuck up and wake people up. So I just wanted to put that in there because it is a powerful uh generation that we're in. And yeah, you've got to do that work, and that also helps everyone around you, as you said. So I want to ask you, Tash, because talked about so many things. Like with this ancestral thread that we're on, obviously, of course, you can go to Tash for past life regression. What else? Like, how would you start unpicking that if somebody's like really curious about their kind of ancestral lineage? Maybe they don't know much about it, but they want to kind of do that healing work and sort of unpick it. Where could they start? What could they do to kind of unravel that?
I think that because it's difficult, isn't it? Because for me as well, I had so my dad's Iranian, and so I don't know any of that side of my family. I don't really know a lot about their history. So it's interesting because I still managed to do the ancestral work around that, not knowing them. And the place that I started, really, with that being said, was I would just go and do guided meditations, or I would do it on my own because I'm like quite happy to kind of lead myself, obviously, because I do it with the part. It's very simple. Anyone can do it, honestly, truly, if you set the intention to kind of go in and revisit your ancestors. A lot of your imagination is so powerful. It really is. It's how our subconscious talks to us and how we talk to our subconscious mind. So I think with this work, because it's not tangible and you're not going to sit down and have your family trees, and you're not going to know if you don't know, you have to take a leap of faith again. But trust, and your subconscious mind has all the answers. This is so important when you're going into the meditations or to do these visualizations, whatever's comfortable for you. Please know and trust in your subconscious mind, because it does have the answers, but you have to allow it. You have to let it in. Which is, again, what I was saying before, be open and just be open and aware that there's other stuff going on. So I would say that's the first port of call. Go do either a guided meditation or do it yourself to set the intention to visit your ancestors, and just have an image in your mind of visiting them, asking them what knowledge, what information they have, and just seeing what comes up. But also, I think what's really important with this work as well is, I think there's so much pressure put on meditations and hypnosis journeys, or whatever, they're all the same thing, to get the answers there and then. That often isn't the way. You can have, sometimes you do have great meditations and you get loads of answers, and that's wonderful. But a lot of the time, I think it's almost like a spark, it's a catalyst. See what you get. If you get nothing, don't worry. Trust that you set that intention. You put that out there into the universe. Your RAS, what we were talking about last time, you're going to now see this as a priority. And you will be surprised at then what pops up in your world about certain things, ancestral wise, that will just resonate with you. Pay attention and then follow, be curious and follow where it takes you. Because I've had stuff come to me from bouncing from an Instagram post that came up, which led me to a podcast, which led me to a book, and all of a sudden it's kind of filled in the gaps for me. And like I said, I had no idea about my, that side of my ancestry. I had really powerful stuff come through about money and loss and power of like men over women. There was so much that was really relevant to me that came from doing that kind of ancestral healing, and it was all coming from subconscious, really.
I love that. Trusting the threads again. That's what I love you're speaking to. And I also want to share just this briefly, because we'll sort of wrap it up in a minute. But I remember the first time, I don't know why, again, something I was like, I'm drawn to go to a spiritualist church. This is back in London. And I never met my dad's dad. And he was the volatile alcoholic, I think, not diagnosed, schizophrenic, PTSD, all the things. When it was back in the day, you just didn't talk about that stuff. And so I went to a spiritualist church, not really no expectations. And the first time I went, I got this message. And again, take it or leave it. Some people don't believe in that, but I just felt, I was like, that is my granddad. Like, they had this gut, they feel the energy, and they start sharing about, the man. They were like, they were just sharing his character. Although I'd never met him, from what my dad shared, he was quite a powerful, like, character. He had a really good sense of humor, even if he was a bit volatile. There's a real fiery side to him. And I remember, and anyway, this message came through, and I felt like it was him. I trusted. You just have to trust how you feel with these things. And it was just, I think I was feeling really lost at that time. And it was such a beautiful message of like, I know you're struggling, but just keep going. Like, just keep putting one step in front of the other. And it was just such a message of love and comfort, and is exactly what I needed. So, like with all this work, some of it's hard, it's not always easy, but just know that always, like you said before, those ancestors are supporting you, even if they weren't, particularly love and light in their life and they had issues. There's still always a message of love and support there for you that you can tap into. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's interesting that you said that as well, because I never met my dad's dad. He died when my dad was 7. Um, and yet it's so funny because whenever my sister or I have gone to a medium, the first thing they say is, "You've got your," and then we're like, "Oh, my dad's dad here." Like, yes, he's always there. He's always with us. And it's such a loving energy. And yet he was like really high up in the army. He was an army colonel. He was terrifying. My dad was very scared of him, so he was very much that in real life. And yet his presence when he comes through with me and my sister, who we never met, yeah, it's just so loving. So
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, they are always there. Oh, so I mean, thank you. This has just been such a juicy conversation. I know we could talk for hours. I'm just, yeah, and I just love the work that you do is so important in the world to help people just reprogram their subconscious, through hypnotherapy. It's so powerful. And I guess in this, there's a lot of chaos in the world, and I sense that people are getting overwhelmed and stuck in their, let's say, ego, all those unconscious patterns. Like, what is your wisdom right now to people that are kind of just feel that they're kind of in a dark tunnel?
yeah. Oh, you know what? Like right now, I just think the energies, I don't know what's going on. You would know what's going on more cosmically, but I feel these energies are crazy right now. And I think, bottom line, there's things going on which are bringing all of our shadows, all of this stored, emotions, trauma up to the surface collectively. I think we are all going through that, and I'm pretty sure everybody listening here and all around the world really is feeling like what you've just said, that are overwhelmed. Why is everything kind of going wrong? Why is all this stuff coming up that I thought I had dealt with or I had no idea I had to deal with right here at the surface? And I would say it's hard, but please see this as a really, really good thing, as an exciting thing. And if you can take anything from what we were obviously talking about in this podcast, don't run away from it. The time now is to sit and face it and feel it. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's going to push you out of your comfort zone of that familiar safety. But know that this is the time. It's time to get rid of it. It's time to literally chuck it all out now. It's like we're clearing out the house, we're getting it gone. And then the reason we're doing that is so we can move on, I believe, to a world that is going to work in a different way. It's a different paradigm, a world where we can believe that things get to be easy, and it does get to be easy, and we get to live from a place of safety. Because, like you said, again, throughout this whole podcast, we kept coming back to safety, and it feels very unsafe right now. So you have to really, really go hard on, just if nothing else, reminding yourself that, like, you are safe in this moment. You are safe. Do the things like you said, EFT, the talking to your body, yoga, go out in nature, anything to make you feel safe and relaxed. Remind your body we're not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We do not have to run away, and we can just sit and be present, and then things will get easier from there, as long as you don't run away from those uncomfortable feelings. Face them, get them gone, so that you can move on.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, such powerful wisdom. Double down on it. Like, and I'm not going to go into that now, but just looking at the chart of the moment right now, and it's like, Chiron, the wound collectively is in Aries, and so that means that actually we're being really tested to step more into being that powerful leader. So we have to kind of be like a warrior. There's like a warrior-like energy that we have to step into to help us go, okay, I'm seeing all the ways I gave my power away, the ways I didn't believe in myself, the ways I wasn't courageous and wasn't confident, to be able to step into those qualities. Like that's what it's really about. And the things that you're struggling with, I always think this, the challenge and the challenge is also the medicine. The challenge is the gift, and that's what you're here to learn. So you're learning from that challenge so that you can teach others how to overcome and navigate those challenges as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And we're all linked. We're all connected, aren't we? So when the more people that step out and do this, the more we're helping others to do the same thing and know that people are already doing the work and they're helping us and you to do the same thing as well. So yeah,
yeah.
we're all in it together, and the more of us that can do it, the more the energy is going to build and it's going to get quicker, mentally
Yeah.
build. Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tash. It's been a joy. I will pop all your links and so people can connect with you, see what you're up to, and just be in your world. And yeah, just thank you so much for doing the work you do. And check out, because Tash has an amazing podcast that is just so full of so much wisdom, and she pours her heart into it. So go check that out. I'll leave that below as well.
So much, Hannah. It's been like, oh, I could talk all day. We've spoken about so much, haven't we? We've kind of covered so much, but it's just been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you're doing, because honestly, I had some amazing experiences with you when you were working through and doing your meditations with me and going through the birth chart. So yeah, I had a lot of aha moments.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. And anyone watching this, I always love to hear, interact. Let us know, like, what is landing for you? What is resonating from this conversation? Like, share it with us in the comments. We want to hear what is resonating with you and what's clear for you as well. So, sending so much love to you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Uh, oh.